Hey team, it's Ange here with Equenti Leadership and Learning. Welcome back to the Burnout Series. I haven't made a video for the Burnout Series in quite a few weeks, maybe even a month or two. And to be honest, it's because I just wasn't feeling it. And that, without stealing the show, that's one of the greater lessons from burnout, is that when I'm feeling inspired, when I'm feeling creative, when I feel like I've got a message to share, I share it. So that's what we're doing today. But when it's not coming, I'm not going to force it, I'm not going to push, I'm not going to strive, I'm not going to drive, I'm not going to hustle. They're all the behaviours that lead you into burnout. And so what I wanted to do for you today, and I'm coming to you from the top of Mount Nindiri on the Sunshine Coast, having just climbed 2 mountains before breakfast on this wonderful Friday. I want to share with you the story of my journey to burnout and back. And I want to say I'm probably 3 years out of that burnout experience now, and I would say honestly I'm still in recovery. So I just wanted to sort of quite vulnerably and honestly share with you what that burnout story was. And it's really, maybe I spoke about it at a conference, but it's really only the second time I've spoken about it publicly because I just haven't been ready. So if I go back to, I guess I've had my business for nearly 7 years now as a leadership coach and trainer. It was probably 3-4 years ago when I really was sort of starting to head first into burnout. And how it felt at the time was I felt like I was really successful. I was fully deployed, which as a business owner, particularly when you're starting out in your own business, this is what you think you want. So I was fully deployed. I was driving and flying all over the countryside, coaching and training, and absolutely loving it. Like, it was sort of, the one thing I will say, it was really bringing me to life to be coaching and training. I absolutely loved the results that I was getting for my clients, but I was sort of loving it so much, loving it so hard, that I forgot to take care of myself in the process. And so what it looked like was a fully booked diary. I would leave home on a Monday, come home on a Friday. It kind of felt like my life was hanging together by a thread of, house sitters and pet sitters and various forms of help that I'd engage so I could travel all over the place. And I would use my weekends for recovery and then just go for it. Work very long days during the week, 12, 14-hour days sometimes. And I kind of sensed, I remember it was April 2018. And I'd called my mentor, his name was Darcy, and I said, I can see that I feel like I'm getting really fatigued, I'm exhausted, I'm not sure I can fulfill all of my client commitments, and I didn't really know what burnout was, and he was cautioning me about it. But I didn't, at this time I thought I was bulletproof. I was so successful, so busy, earning great money, getting great results, that I thought I could just keep going like that indefinitely. And I remember the day that it became apparent that I couldn't keep going, because I just moved from Harvey Bay to Brisbane, and I was sitting outside Coles with a trolley full of groceries, and I sat down with my trolley and I just realised I've got nothing left. In fact, I'm not even sure I can get home. Like, the tank is empty. And I wasn't depressed, I wouldn't say, but I was depleted. And again, I rang my mentor. I'm sitting outside Coles, unscheduled call, and he's like, "What's up, Ange?" And I said, "I've got a problem. I don't think I can work, and I don't even think I can get home." And we talked this through, and he settled me a little bit, and he's like, "Ange, welcome to burnout. We saw this coming. I cautioned you. I asked, suggested you take some time off. And what was driving me at the time was this need to meet the perceived expectations of others. And so, you know, I had the story running that, you know, my clients couldn't live without me, which is hilarious. And, you know, that I had to deliver on all of these commitments. And, you know, I really just had this big story running about why I had to keep going. And I went and I went and I went until I couldn't go anymore. And fortunately, my mentor said, Ange, what you're going to do is, you know, you are going to get in the car and drive home, unpack your groceries, and then you're going to go to bed. And I went to bed for probably, I want to say 2 weeks. I sort of slept it off. I drank water. I managed to get out and walk in the sunshine a little bit, but not really to exercise, just to be outside. I tried to address my diet, and I thought at the time, what a relief. Thank goodness I'm through this burnout. Thank goodness I've taken 2 weeks off. And funnily enough, my clients, very understanding, didn't blink. And I did have a sore back at the time, and that was the excuse that I used, because I wasn't ready to say I'm in burnout. And maybe I didn't really even know properly that I was in burnout. So anyway, I took the 2 weeks off, and then I tried to re-engage with the same pattern of work again. And something interesting, and at the time it felt quite devastating, happened, and that was that I just couldn't return to my full level of functioning. And I began to understand that this recovery from burnout, it wasn't going away. And it kind of hung around. I want to say it hung around for 6, maybe even 12 months before I started to feel like myself again. And I engaged another mentor with a very specific purpose, and that was to help me through this burnout period. And what we discovered together was that I was working so hard because there were certain things in my life, in my history, in my emotional state, that I didn't want to look at and that I didn't want to feel, and that if I stayed busy, if my pattern of work was that I stayed so busy that I didn't have to look at and attend to those things, then everything was fine. And I was running so hard away from those things that I didn't want to look at, towards work, towards clients, towards money, towards things, towards material things, that I didn't have to look at or feel some of those uncomfortable things that I just, you know, at the age of 40 hadn't processed in my life. And so, I engaged him specifically. His name was Andrew, very helpful man, who helped me slow down enough to look at what I didn't want to feel and experience, and actually taught me how to feel. It's a weird thing to say. Through my schooling, through my high school, through my university, through my work, no one teaches you how to feel things. People teach you how to hustle and stay busy and how to run from stuff and cover things up with positive psychology. No one teaches you how to sit with uncomfortable emotion and trust yourself in that process, and trust yourself to deal with what comes up, and trust yourself to be able to, you know, endure, survive the experience of feeling negative emotion, and then also find some peacefulness and contentment and even some beauty in that. And it wasn't until I slowed down in that year of recovery that I actually got to trust myself to feel the things that I'd been running from, and to be able to emotionally regulate and manage myself through that experience. And then what followed from there for that, you know, for the years that have come since, is just actually an ever decreasing pace of work. As it is, it's a Friday today, and I'm here with my friend, and like I said, we've climbed a couple of mountains before breakfast. And they're the decisions that I make now to honour, I'll say, my soul's calling for what it needs. And if there's one thing that burnout's taught me lots of things, but an important lesson has been to listen to my body, because as you're approaching your limits, your body will tell you. When you're running off adrenaline, when you're stressed, when you're fatigued, when you're dehydrated, when you're not slowing down to be present, when you're not breathing. Your body tells you, but we're so good at overlooking all of those signals. We know how to push through. We know how to be, in my case, a strong corporate woman. I know how to do those things. But I didn't know how to slow down and trust myself to feel and process what needed to be felt, so that I don't have to spend the rest of my life running towards busyness and contributing to others, so I don't have to look at what's going on in here. So today we've climbed some mountains, and I've just really got a pace of work now that honours my visceral bodily experience of how much work I want to do, how I can sustain myself in a healthy way, so I can show up with all of the energy and presence and clarity that's required for my clients, and so that I can have not just a little bit left over for me, but I have a lot left over for me, and that allows me to ride my horse and go hiking and enjoy time with friends and have creative ideas and read and create discussion. All of the things that are nurturing and nourishing not just my business mind, but me as a person, being able to contribute this kind of thing to you. So, the burnout experience was scary. When you lose control of your capacity, when you might want to work, but in my case, I just couldn't open the laptop. I could barely get out of bed, right? The brain there was nothing going on up here. It had shut down. The CPU had died, right? It's really quite a frightening experience to lose control of that capacity and to not know what to do, to be not even really connected enough to myself to understand that I was in burnout, to not know where to ask for help. And I went to various different avenues, acupuncture and massage and naturopathy and a chiropractor and, like I say, my mentor. But yeah, there was no sort of handbook on how to get through burnout. And maybe there shouldn't be one. Maybe the only handbook should be tune into yourself, listen to your body. And if you think you can't hear its messages, then just be a little bit more still and present and listen a bit harder and wait a bit longer and see what your body is calling for. And then not just listen to and honour those messages, but act on those messages, including if that calling is for rest. So rest is still a massive, 3 years post-burnout, rest is still a massive aspect of my work week. Meditation, time in nature, time on my horse, are all very necessary aspects of my work week now. And there would have been a time when I would have been embarrassed to say that, when it would have been unpopular in the corporate world, when I would have thought I couldn't operate a business or make any money working in this way. All of that has been the silver lining, if you like, from burnout. So I just wanted to share with you guys what this experience has been like for me, what I'm learning from it. I'll talk in another video a bit more about the gifts and lessons from burnout, because there have been many, and also a little bit more about recovery. We'll do that in a future video. I just wanted to share with you, the meltdown at Coles, what that's led to and what that was like, and hopefully that connects with some of you who are having this experience as well, to know that obviously you're not alone, that you can trust yourself and that you can tune into your body, and that's where the answers are. So I hope that's been a helpful thing to share, and I'll come back to you soon when I feel inspired for the next video in the Burnout series.